This could ruin your year. That's the title. That's the topic of today's Daily Dose. Now, I bet you're hoping and you're praying for a really good year. You might even be starting the year out with some prayer and fasting, asking God to bless your year. This is great. Go for it. Do it. But what if there's something that will prevent God's blessing? What if there's something that will, if it remains present in your life, will actually thwart all God's goodness and actually ruin your entire year? Well, there is something. It's called unforgiveness. Jesus talked about how this one thing can bring ruin to not just a year, but an entire life. How it can actually bring God's judgment instead of his blessing. So what I want to do is I want us to check out that parable that Jesus told about the unmerciful, the unforgiving servant. It's found in Matthew chapter 18, beginning in verse 21. Let's read this together. Hang with me on this. Verse 21 says, Then Peter came to Jesus and asked, he said, Lord, how many times shall I forgive my brother when he sins against me? Up to 7 times? Jesus answered, I tell you, not 7 times, but 77 times. That's a lot of forgiveness. Therefore, the kingdom of heaven, Jesus says, it's like a king who wanted to settle accounts with his servant. As he began to settle the settlement, a man who owed him 10,000 talents was brought to him. Since he was not able to pay, the master ordered that he and his wife and his children and all that he had be sold to repay the debt. It's extreme, right? The servant fell on his knees before him. Be patient with me, he begged, and I will pay back everything. The servant's master took pity on him. He canceled the debt and he let him go. Total forgiveness. You're forgiven. Don't worry about it. But here's where it gets crazy, a little dicey. Jesus continues, he said, But when that servant went out, he found one of his fellow servants. Now, this is the one who was forgiven much. When he went out, he found one of his fellow servants who owed him 100 denarii. That's just like peanuts compared to what he owed the other guy. And he grabbed him. He began to choke him. He said, Pay back what you owe me. He demanded it. His fellow servant fell to his knees and he begged him, Be patient with me and I will pay you back. But this guy who was already forgiven much, he said he refused. Instead, he went off and he had the man thrown into prison until he could pay the debt. When the other servant saw what had happened, they were greatly distressed. And they went and they told their master everything that had happened. Then the master called the servant in. He said, You wicked servant, he said, I canceled all that debt of yours because you begged me to. Shouldn't you have had mercy on your fellow servant just as I had on you? Now check this out. In anger, his master turned him over to the jailers to be tortured until he should pay back all he owed. And then Jesus ends with this statement. He says, This is how my heavenly Father will treat you, each of you, unless you forgive your brother from your heart. Beloved, unforgiveness is dangerous. So maybe unforgiveness is what's holding you back. Maybe that's what's been holding you back last year and the year before. After all, unforgiveness will not only keep you from a blessed year, it will actually guarantee a miserable year where you find yourself far from God. Here's my plea. Don't let unforgiveness ruin your year. And here's my encouragement. Ask God to help you to forgive. Jesus knows how to do this hard thing. You remember that while he was hanging on that cross, he said, Forgive them, they know not what they do. Jesus, he knows how to forgive, and he will help you forgive. Ask him for help right now, today, this year. Step into forgiveness this year. Ask Jesus to help you do the same thing that he did with those who were hurting him, to do that with those who have been hurting you. Because when you do forgive, you will be blessed. You will be free. The barriers will be removed. The hardness will be broken. God's grace will flow in and through your life freely and in a whole new way and in greater measures as well. Look, with unforgiveness out of the way, this year just might become your best year yet. God bless you.